Soyez les bienvenus, chers téléspectateurs, dans l'interview d'Africa 24. Nous recevons aujourd'hui un invité, et cet invité parlant la langue anglaise. Cette interview se déroulera donc en langue anglaise. Vous aurez bien sûr les sous-titres pour mieux comprendre ce que nous allons dire. Mr. Tony Elumelu, Chairman of Heirs Holdings and founder of the Tony Elumelu Foundation. Welcome.
Thank you.
You have a few questions that you will have to read out loud. Okay. Let's start with the first one, please.
Okay. What is my opinion about the U.S.-African Summit? My opinion about the U.S.-African Summit is that it's a very welcome development. It's a good initiative by President Barack Obama, and it's one that I hope would lead to a productive outcome, bringing 45 African presidents, bringing many African private sector business leaders, all to interact with U.S. government and U.S. businesses. It's a novel idea. It's one that has never happened at this scale before, and one that I hope will lead to a couple of positive outcomes. One, I'd like to see a situation where the business partnership between American and African companies begin to grow. A partnership that should lead to long-term investments that can help create employment and more economic opportunities on the continent. One that also give American companies the investment opportunities, one that will enable them improve their returns on investment, because Africa is very fertile for investment, and Africa is a place where you can make very high and positive return.
Do you really think that this summit is going to change something? It's happening in August, when everybody is on holidays. The President Barack Obama is not meeting any African president. Some people think that is just to say that the President Barack Obama organized something for Africa after more than 6 years.
I don't think he's trying to fulfill any obligation. I think it's born out of a genuine commitment to help put Africa in the minds of American business leaders, as well as help American business leaders to expand their business opportunities, because we do have a lot of this in Africa. Our population is growing, the consumption pattern is improving, the income per capita is growing, and it's a fertile ground for businesses. However, I agree with you that President Obama should have created bilateral opportunity to meet with, if not all, but some key presidents of some key African countries. But I believe he and his advisors have their reasons for not making that possible.
The USA is believing in the potential of Africa, or this country is seeing how trades with China are increasing?
I think it's a combination of both, and it's not bad. Competition is good, so it's not bad for America to see that, in seeing that China is doing a lot more in Africa, to want to catch up. It's not bad. It's good for Africa, it's good for America, it's good for the world. At the same time, I also think that America is realizing that Africa of today is different from Africa of the past. That Africa of today is no longer the Africa of where Africa that just all they expect or all you give to them is aid.
The White House used to say, no aid, more trade, even with Africa, so they weren't helping the continent.
No, I think that what they are saying about no aid and more trade is very good. That's what we want. We want to stop the dependency syndrome. We want to stop to over-rely on people giving us handouts. We want to be able to feed ourselves. We want to be self-reliant. And so if America and the White House says, no aid to Africa, trade Africa, then that's what we want. That's what every African wants. We want to make sure that we improve our ability to trade amongst ourselves, to trade with the rest of the world. Personally, I am the chairman of Heirs Holdings, as you said before, and our company invests in key sectors across Africa. We invest in financial services. We have a bank that operates in 19 African countries. We have investment in real estate and hospitality, hotels. We have investment in power. In Nigeria, we have huge power plant. Our intent is to roll this across most African countries. So yes, we are ready. We are contributing significantly towards the new Africa.
Next word, please, that you know well.
Yes, Africapitalism. What do you want to know?
You created that term. What is the difference between that term and the capitalism?
It's not a matter of difference. It's a matter of a development approach that I believe that we need today in Africa. I believe that the private sector has a key role to play in the development of our continent, Africa. And I believe that the private sector should invest long-term in key sectors of the African economy that should help to create economic prosperity while creating social wealth. So this is a philosophy that is born out of the realization that the private sector has a role to play in the development of the continent.
A lot of successful African businessmen are from English-speaking countries. Do you have an idea of why this is happening?
I think that as Africans, we are beginning to, we have resources to create enough wealth amongst ourselves. The fact that you have more successful business people in English Africa, West Africa, or English-speaking Africa than you have in Francophone Africa is a statistical revelation that I've not really, I didn't know
the
before.
Forbes class. It is public.
It's public. Okay, I think what I know is that entrepreneurship is good, and we do have a lot of entrepreneurs in my country, in Nigeria, for instance, and I see them in many other African countries. What we need to do to bridge this gap, I believe, is to keep encouraging more entrepreneurs to come up on the continent, keep improving an intra-Africa movement of people, also increase cross-border business activities. Nigerians should be able to do business across many African countries, and similarly, someone from Cameroon or Burkina Faso should be able to do business across Africa.
Is it easy to do business when you're coming from another country to Nigeria?
It is, but before then, let me say one more thing about this entrepreneurship you're talking about. Our foundation, the Tony Elumelu Foundation, realizes the importance of private sector playing a role in developing the continent. Further realizes also that you need to have entrepreneurs supported for them to be able to succeed as from small-scale business people to multinational business people, which is what maybe we should, if what the statistics you're providing is right, then we should focus more of our efforts in the Francophone countries to help encourage more entrepreneurs, and hoping also that people improve their work style, because hard work is good for success in business. But coming back to the issue... So
you are saying here that you are going to focus more on French-speaking countries' entrepreneurs?
We are launching a program that's across a program to train 10,000 entrepreneurs across Africa. It is going to be open to all eligible Africans, but we will see and make sure that in terms of the mentoring, the training and development, the boot camp we're going to organize, that we deliberately encourage more Francophone participation. But I need to confirm what you said first, to confirm what you said. But coming back to the issue of doing business in Nigeria, I think Nigeria is a competitive environment, and one where foreigners have succeeded in doing business. And I do not see why our brothers and sisters from Africa should not successfully do business in Nigeria.
I have in my hands the last question, the Joker question. You are pleading, we heard you earlier, for a long-term focus on key sectors such as infrastructures, but the high returns that you were talking about represents high risk, don't you think so? Particularly, for example, in Nigeria.
Two things. First, there's nothing wrong about high returns and high risks. You have business risks in every business environment. What's important is the degree of the risk. And in fact, that is why what compensates for risk in business is returns. So high risk, high returns is normal practice in business. Every society, including where you and I are, America, have challenges, have difficulties, but the degree of difficulty is important. In Nigeria, for instance, our foundation, the Tony Elumelu Foundation, realizing that the private sector has a key role to play in developing the continent and the country, and that for private sector to do well, the business environment must be good. We worked with the government of Nigeria to set up the National Competitiveness Council of Nigeria to help create a conducive and enabling business environment for businesses to do well. What is that doing today? That is first recognizing that there's need to improve the business environment, which addresses your point, and two is helping because we're putting in our consciousness that there's need to improve the business environment. It's helping gradually to improve the business environment. So
you can try to improve the business environment, but when Boko Haram, for example, is doing attacks, you can do nothing about it.
Even in UK, they had terrorist attacks.
Not that much.
Even where you and I are, America, 9/11 is fresh in our minds. Over 3,000 people died.
Not that much.
In one day. That has not happened in Nigeria yet. So the issue of terrorism is one that is despicable, the one we pray not to have, but it should not be a deterrent and a barrier for people who want to do business in the country. When America had the 9/11 attack, did it stop you from visiting America? Did it stop you from investing in America?
It was an attempt every day, attacks every day.
You had one attack, 4,000 people died. You have a series of attacks.
Are you trying to compare?
No, I'm not comparing, but what I'm trying to say, I said Boko Haram is despicable. It's not good. We condemn it. But I do not like the characterization of Nigeria solely in that light, because there's much more about Nigeria than Boko Haram.
Thank you, Tony Elumelu, Chairman of Heirs Holdings and founder of the Tony Elumelu Foundation, for answering these questions.
Thank you very much.
Merci à vous, chers téléspectateurs. C'était l'interview d'Africa 24. À bientôt.